Hi everyone, my name is Ashley and this is Jacinta, and we are going to take you through eyebrow tattooing. So what is cosmetic tattooing? Cosmetic tattooing is a semi-permanent method of applying pigment in the outermost layer of the dermis. So Jacinta, what is the purpose of cosmetic tattooing?
There are many purposes of cosmetic tattooing, and it will depend on your client. So the first one is to provide your client with a semi-permanent makeup, just to enhance their natural features in a natural way. It doesn't replace the full need for makeup, but when you've got someone who has no eyebrows, having a shape there and being able to just apply a small amount of makeup day to day, it really does make people's lives so much easier on a day-to-day basis. It can also prolong the amount of time they get out of their eyebrow maintenance, like waxing and tinting. And it can help to cover stars or gaps or improve upon the shape as well. So it is about, my point of view on cosmetic tattooing, it should enhance what you have. So it's not about taking something off and making it completely different or trying to change the shape completely, because we need to still look at the eyebrows and the bone structure and make it look natural from there. It can also be, somebody who maybe swims a lot, or someone who goes to the gym a lot, and wearing makeup just isn't really an option for them. And it's all about confidence at the end of the day. I think that's what we really are big about at Belle Sorel, making people feel more confident about their appearance.
Yeah, that's all really good points. You know, doing or having cosmetic tattooing on yourself can save you so much time as well. And like you said, it's not going to replace your whole makeup routine. It's basically about creating a natural look so your clients feel confident enough when they wake up, when they go to the gym, when they go swimming, and they've just got, their eyebrows are still there, they've got a nice lip blush color on or something like that. So it's basically just about enhancing their natural features.
That's it. And a lot of things that I say to my client is you want to still feel comfortable without makeup on. So you don't want to push your cosmetic tattoo to look unnatural at all. And like I say to some of my clients, I'm like, when you're just ducking down to grab some bread and milk and you don't want to do a full face of makeup, you want your cosmetic tattoo to blend. You don't want someone to just be staring at you like she's got her eyebrows tattooed. It shouldn't be that way. It should just enhance. And like you said, like I have a bit of eyebrow pencil on today, but my eyebrow tattoo was there. It took me like seconds to just put some color over the top of it because I am wearing makeup today. And that's what it's about for me.
So it's really all about creating a natural look where people don't think you're actually wearing makeup.
That's it.
Will you completely throw away all your makeup products? No. When you're going out for a night out or even going, to work or a meeting, you still might want to apply a little bit of powder over your eyebrows or some lipstick on top of your lip tattoo, just to really enhance and exaggerate, make it a bit more of an evening kind of look. But the whole idea of it is so you have a natural look.
It is a semi-permanent form of tattooing. Why is it called semi-permanent?
Exactly. So in Australia, we call it semi-permanent makeup or semi-permanent cosmetic tattooing. In other places like the US, they call it permanent makeup or PMU. So basically, how cosmetic tattooing works is that we use a pigment which is biodegradable. So that means it can break down. Your body can break it down. Where if you're talking about a body tattoo, they use non-biodegradable pigment. So your body will never break it down. It's full of a lot of metals, and therefore your body won't break it down. So why we call it semi-permanent is because over time your body's going to break down the pigment. It's kind of like a Pac-Man effect. Okay, your metabolism is chomping away at the pigment. And so over time, 12 months later after your initial tattoo, you're going to have areas where the pigment has just faded. There might be some areas, you may have areas that have completely disappeared and there's no pigment at all. So that's why we call it semi-permanent, because it's never really, it doesn't stay the same way as when you initially got it done. There will be areas that disappear. Basically, why it is semi-permanent and why it fades is, one, the pigment we use, the depth that we insert the pigment into. We are basically going, we're going into the outermost layers of the derma, so we are going pretty superficial but deep enough so it stays in the skin and it doesn't come off when our skin exfoliates. But not deep enough like a body tattoo where it's gonna last forever. Also, a tattoo on our face, the skin on our face exfoliates a lot quicker than, say, the skin on our body. So the cell turnover is a lot quicker. So every, say, roughly 28 days, your skin's exfoliating itself. So eventually, over the months and the years, that pigment is going to be slowly like sloughing away as your skin exfoliates itself. So there's a few reasons why. It basically, it's all about your metabolism, and your metabolism literally is just breaking down that pigment. So,
and that's why I suppose it's different for every person as well, because everybody is different in that regards.
Exactly. Some people have a faster metabolism, some people have a slower one. So they break down the pigment at different levels. And that's why some areas will fade quicker than other areas, because of the depth of the skin on, different areas of the eyebrow as well.
Yeah, good point. The skin in the starts is very different to the skin on the ends of the brows.
That's it. Yeah. So who would, actually, I'm going to ask you why. A lot of questions we get from clients is, why can't the cosmetic tattooing be permanent? Like, why can't we use just permanent ink, body tattoo ink, and just be done with it?
Yeah, that's a good point, and there is a few reasons why. The first one is color change. We need to be able to control the color, because everybody's got different undertones, skin tones. We need it to blend well with their hair, all of that. So color change is a massive one. We need to be able to control that color so that we are getting the best possible outcome for that client. And having a permanent ink or pigment, we do lose the ability to control that color as well. Hormones, medications, things like that will also dictate how fast their tattoo can fade and how it will break down, and also what it does to the color as well. Certain medications, well, actually a lot of medications can affect the color and the fading of a tattoo. So that's just stuff that is out of our control, and sometimes that can change throughout a client's life. They might start not on a medication, and that's why sometimes when you have your client come back for their yearly visit, their fading could be different every single time. Their skin's changing, their hormones could be fluctuating, they could be going through menopause, pregnancy, who knows, and we see clients throughout their life. So we do see these changes happen on them, and we need to explain to them why these things are happening. And sometimes it just could be a number of things. It could be, that they have fallen pregnant, or that they've also started taking another medication prior to that. And, it can be, sometimes we need to kind of get to the bottom of why their pigment is changing, or they are fading a little bit quicker. The reason why we don't go deeper into the skin is because, and it is a common thing that I think a lot of people do see when working on work from other people, is that people go, as we mentioned before, the ends are a lot thinner. And some people, their pressure gets a little bit too deep. And when we go too deep, it can actually turn the pigment more of that like ashy, bluey kind of tone. So that's definitely worth noting, because that's definitely something that I see most of with clients who've had permanent makeup applied from somewhere else, is that you really need to watch your pressure throughout your brow, and that we don't want to place it too deep in the skin, because this can happen.
Definitely. That's a really good point. We see a lot of people who come in and their eyebrows are really quite blue and solid, even though they've had feathering, for example. And it just shows us that the technician has gone in so deep, and that is going to last a long time. So the technician has gone deeper than the layer of skin that we should be going into. And yeah, when you're looking at more permanent brows, you really are looking at brows that do not hold the integrity of the color. So that's when you will see a lot of ashy brows, bluey color eyebrows, which is not what we want. So when our clients come in and say, I don't want to come back in a year to get them touched up, I want them permanently like that forever. But it's so easy to come back once a year for a little bit of a touch up and just refresh the color, refresh those areas that have faded, as opposed to dealing with permanent eyebrows that you're going to have forever that are going to discolor. Because like you said, your hormones are going to change. You're going to have sun damage. Medications will change. Yeah, like you said, you might go through having a baby, breastfeeding, and all of that is going to alter the color of your cosmetic tattoo. So we want to basically implant the pigment at a level in the skin that is going to fade away nicely, so we can make those changes to the color, to the shape, and things like that as time changes, and to keep up with the health of your skin and your lifestyle and the medications and things that you might end up going on. So why we don't make eyebrows permanent, I hope that makes sense to everyone, is because the biggest thing is really the color change. It's not nice when they're not the nice color that you want.
No. And it's totally worth explaining this to the client the first time you meet them as well, so that they're aware of it and they're not thinking that you did a bad job, or it's something that you did. So that if you educate them from the get-go and let them know that this can happen due to these reasons, they're not going to be thinking, oh, she did a horrible job. She's going to be thinking, okay, this did happen, so she did say that this could happen if these changes were made in my life, and then she'll come back to you and be like, I've done this has happened, can you help me get it back on track?
Exactly. And we have that wriggle room to get your eyebrows back on track, because we haven't made them permanent.
That's it. They're going to fade. So we are going to have that ability to add more without it just being such a solid look. So who would want or need cosmetic tattooing?
So cosmetic tattooing isn't suitable for everyone. There might be some people that you come across that may not need cosmetic tattooing, because of a number of reasons. But it is important to know that just because you have a client in who comes in and says, I want cosmetic tattooing, and you don't think they're the right candidate, and maybe eyebrow waxing or tinting or something else might be better for them, then always trust your instinct, because it's not suitable for everyone. So the ideal candidate is someone who is wanting to add some shape or definition to their eyebrows, people who have overplucked, who are on certain medications or suffer from alopecia and things like that, where they're losing some of their eyebrow hairs, and basically people who are wanting to get further out of their maintenance appointments, such as their waxing and tinting appointments. If you've got really fair eyebrows, you might want to get a bit of shadowing on your eyebrows, so it looks like you've got a little, well, like you've got some eyebrows and a little bit more color to your face. People with a lifestyle, like you were saying before, Jacinta, who goes swimming, who sweats a lot at the gym. So basically people who have sparse eyebrows, who are wanting more shape and definition to their eyebrows, and people who generally fill their eyebrows in. So they're all good candidates for eyebrow tattooing. Who would you say is not a suitable candidate for cosmetic tattooing?
There's quite a few, and this is why consultation is so important. And as you mentioned before, getting to know your client is very, very important. And I think a lot of people feel the need, especially when they're first starting out, to just do whatever the client wants. And I think with something that is, even though it's semi-permanent here in Australia, this is a big commitment to have something on your face for a long time. And you need to it's your responsibility to make sure that that client in front of you is prepared for that and is ready for that. So you do need to be able to turn clients away based on things like their skin type. That is a massive thing. And as we were just talking about before, with the ends of the eyebrows being thinner, if somebody has a very, very fine skin and is adamant they want feather touch, and you've explained to them, look, that is not going to sit well in your skin because of these reasons, and they are still very, well, look, I just want feather touch. It is okay to say no to that client, because you are not going to get a good end result from that. And even like usually most people, once you go through the method of explaining the reasons why, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10 people are usually like, okay, look, well, that's what I really want, so I'm just going to keep doing waxing and tinting and think it over a little bit longer. But if you do have someone who's very insistent, say no. It's, it's totally fine to do, because that person's going to come back 6 months later saying, oh, this has happened, which is exactly what you told them. And you've got to then say, well, I did tell you that would happen. So it's just so much easier. And I think, you build a lot of trust with your client if you say openly, look, this is not going to be a good end result for you. I don't want to do it. And, you end up turning a client, they end up trusting you. And the more you work with them, the more that you can kind of build their trust, and they'll become that lifelong loyal client then as well. So definitely skin types. That is like a massive, massive one that, I think a lot of people love the idea of feather touch, but in reality, feather touch is not suitable for a lot of different skin types. So I have this conversation a lot, explaining why feather touch isn't good for their skin, why this method is going to be better for them. So you need to definitely figure that out and explain all these reasons. Medications or illness, a lot of medications actually have so many adverse reactions on the body, which comes out in the skin and makes cosmetic tattooing you're not going to get a good result from it. Same with underlying illness, or if somebody's having treatment for an illness, that can also be a reason why you should not do cosmetic tattooing on somebody. And yeah, just going back around to the type of personality, you really do have to make sure that they are ready for the commitment they're about to make. Because for us, we do it day in, day out. But, when somebody comes into us, like I've had clients that don't even wax and tint, and they're just like, yeah, tattoo me. And that to me is a red flag, because I'm like, okay, you haven't waxed and tinted in 7 or 8 years and you just want me to tattoo your face? No, I need to get to know you and make sure that this commitment is going to be what you want, because at the end of the day, we want to make all of our clients happy, right? We don't want to just do something for the sake of doing it and then turn around and be like, I don't think this was for me. And that isn't our responsibility to make sure that that is the best treatment for our client.
Exactly. You really have to understand who you're talking to, who your client is. You may come across clients who completely see something different in the mirror as to what you see. And that is called body dysmorphia, and it is a common thing. So yeah, you could do this amazing eyebrow tattoo on the client. You've done what they wanted. You've done what suits your client, and then you give them the mirror and they see something completely different and freak out. And I mean, this has definitely happened to us before, and it's really, just learning about your client, really kind of understanding them, and the body dysmorphia can really that people can hide that really well because they obviously don't know they have it. So it's really tricky to pick up. Basically, a good way to find out whether your client is okay with what she sees is by giving her a mirror and pointing out certain things that you see, and have her point out certain things that she sees as well. So you can kind of get on the same page and see where if she's on the same page as you, because that's a really hard one to to just determine whether your client does have that issue or not. But yeah, it's picking the right personality for these treatments is super important, because like we said, it is semi-permanent, but it's also permanent. So if your client's not ready, don't push them to do it. Continue waxing and tinting, and get them used to it. And that's how you get lifelong clients as well, because you've built their trust and you're actually doing the right thing for them, and they're going to appreciate that.
Yeah. I'll share the story that happened to me with my first client that had body dysmorphia, which I honestly, to this day, I didn't see any of the warning signs, but she was lovely. She was fine. I generally felt like we were on the same page. And I showed her the mirror and she burst into tears, like absolute tears. And I was just so rattled by it. Ash actually had to come in because I just was not, this woman caught me so off guard. I had no idea what was going on. And Ash spent a bit of time with her. I spent a bit of more time with her. She was still really, really upset. And then that evening, Ash made a really great call, and she actually sent this woman a photo of just her after, of just her eyebrow. And the woman actually wrote back that's the shape that I wanted. And Ash was just like, that is your eyebrow. And that, to me, I was just like, body dysmorphia is such a thing, because we were on the same page, we were talking about everything. And then she admitted that was the shape that she wanted. She didn't actually recognize that was her eyebrow. And that's when I was just like, oh my God, this is actually such a thing that happens to so many people.
It's very real and it's very hard to pick up. It can be disguised so well. And yeah, when I went in that room, I was thinking that they were really dark, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have to have that conversation with her where I'm like, okay, they're going to be really dark for the first week, but they were blonde. So I was like, okay, well, that's not the problem. But as I was chatting to her more and more and showing her the mirror, she didn't really know whether they were too thick, too thin. There was so much confusion going on in her mind, that it was very overwhelming for her. And and then soon we discovered that it was body dysmorphia. And obviously she was fine after that once she realized that they were her eyebrows. But it's not a nice thing to go through as a cosmetic tattoo artist. Like it's very emotional. It's emotionally draining, because essentially you've just got this girl that you've tattooed their eyebrows, and you can't take them off. Like, they're there. And as much as you think they look great and she's just devastated, it is heartbreaking for us. So it's choosing your client and knowing when to say no is super important. And if you do get that little instinct that tells you, and honestly, you don't always get the warning signs either. they're not always there, like you said, Jacinta, like you consulted her. We are massive on consulting, and we will have a module a little bit further down about consulting, because it's massive. You need to really consult your client, and that's something that we spend a lot of time with on our, we spend a lot of time on our clients with, but sometimes you just don't know.
I was completely blindsided in that situation. Like, I got along really, really well with her. I was pointing things out. She was agreeing. And then all of a sudden it just erupted. So, I think just the moral of that story is do whatever you can to avoid that situation, because as Ash said, it's horrible thinking you've just ruined somebody's life with this, and you're looking at it and you're not able to figure out what is actually wrong so that you can help them and make them happy. It's horrible. And it's actually so sad to think that people don't see themselves that way as well.
It is really sad. It's really sad that they don't see themselves the way we see them. It's scary and it's sad, and unfortunately it's so real. And in this industry, in the cosmetic industry, you will come across people who do have that illness, and it's very real. And when I used to work with cosmetic doctors, and we had a patient come in, and she had filler in her lips, like, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, and they were big, and Botox on her forehead, and she came back and she was like, I need more filler, and I need more Botox. And the doctor was like, you're going to have to really prove to me that you need this, because I can't see any movement. So here's the mirror, and you need to really explain this to me, explain what you see, because you're just wasting your money because you don't need it. But two, like, you're just gonna overdo it. So it's really and I really loved that they did that, because they're not, one, just taking your money, and two, not making you look ridiculous. And that's the whole thing. You will come across clients who want more and more and more, because they don't see what you see. And you need to learn to say no.
They're walking advertisements for us. So, if you don't think it looks good and you're not happy having her turn around and say to her friends, this person did this to me, don't do it. It's not worth your reputation over.
Exactly. That's so true. So I'm just going to move on to, how many visits should your client have?
The minimum is always 2. So across the board, cosmetic tattooing, minimum 2. There are certain treatments that do require more, and there are certain skin types that also require more visits as well. So depending on, as I said, skin type, you've also got somebody who, say, swims a lot, chlorine, saltwater, sun, theirs is going to fade a lot quicker as well. So we also need to let them know that they could possibly need a 3rd visit, and also we might see them a little bit more frequently for their yearly colour boost as well. So again, importance of consult and knowing your client, because it's so much easier to get ahead of these issues and to make your client aware of this before it actually happens. So if they go ahead and they spend all the money, and then they're like, it's not fading, you're like, oh, well, you do swim every day. And they're like, well, why didn't you tell me that? Like, maybe that would have affected their decision to have it done. So it's really important that we look at their whole lifestyle and let them know of anything from their lifestyle, their skin, their health, whatever it may be, that how many visits they're in for and what their maintenance is going to be really needs to be, they really need to be told what. And, I always say, look, this is an estimate. It's the skin, it's the physiology of the skin, and at the end of the day, we don't know what's happening underneath. We can just speak to our client and make the best informed decision and let them know. So minimum of 6 weeks. We used to do 4, and I'm so happy now that we're moving on to 6 to 8. Sometimes I even push mine to 8. I find some skins, it's really hard to explain, but I think some skins really do take a lot of time to heal underneath. So it's much better for the color to settle in, to make the best decision on any tweaks we need to make with the color. So I'm definitely liking a minimum of 6 weeks. I'm finding that is the best way to see the tattoo healed the most accurately. And yeah, that's where it is. I think when I see people doing 4, I'm like, oh, I totally still think that some people are healing underneath, even though the outer layers of the skin look healed. And that's when I explain this to clients, because sometimes people will call up and they're so eager to have it done. They're like, look, it's been 4 weeks. It looks healed. Can I come in? No, because of these reasons, because, you know, we don't know what the skin's doing underneath. And you might have another 2 to 3 weeks of color change happening. And we need to see it most accurately. So if we need to make any changes, we can do that. And again, I'm all about educating the client like that. I like letting my clients know that information, because most of the time, if you just say, no, I like to do it 6 weeks, they're like, but why? Like, it's healed. I'm ready for it. No, explain to them, this could happen. I want to see this. And they're like, okay, no worries. That's fine. I would much prefer you see the color more accurately, and we'll go from there. And that's fine. And then you don't hear from them again until they're due for their visit. So that's you want to kind of make that information. So if you have an oily skin for brows, I would be saying, look, you could possibly need 3 visits, and you're probably looking about the 9 to 10 month mark instead of the full 12 months. I always say, again, because sometimes skins make a liar out of you, and all we can do is we can make the best, informed decision and say this. But then sometimes I say that and I look at a skin, I'm just like, oh no, I don't think that's going to hold very well. And then it does. So if you prepare your client, then any better result than that, they're going to be stoked with. So, you know, it's about informing them, but also kind of leaving it open as well. So minimum 2, some skin types need 3, and then yearly top-ups. Everybody's different, but oily skins, I usually give them a gauge of like 9 to 10 months. And if they're quite dry, but this also depends on the client as well. Ladies with dark hair, they love fresh eyebrows. So, you know, some of them want to come in at 6 or 7 months just to have the color darker. And, you know, again, I would explain that to them, because you do like darker eyebrows. The tattoo is still going to be okay and it's still going to be there. But if you want them fresh and dark, it's going to be about keeping up on that instead of, you know, or that's when you look at them like, you know what, you're probably still going to need your regular maintenance, your waxing and tinting to keep that color where you want it as well.
Exactly. Because if you're doing too much on top of each other, that's when your eyebrows can start looking ashy in color, especially when you are doing your appointments not 6 weeks apart, especially for feathering or microblading. That's another word for feathering. If you do the touch-up appointment 2 weeks, 4 weeks after the initial appointment, you're basically going to create scar tissue. Your pigment is going to turn really ashy. You're going to ruin the color. So it's really good to, like Jacinta was saying, to inform your client and educate your client as to why we want to wait at least 6 weeks. You know, the client will say, you know, they'll call you and say, no, my eyebrows are healed after a week or 2 weeks. But that's what they can see. But underneath is a whole different story. So it's all about educating them and kind of assessing their skin type and lifestyle, and kind of giving them an average estimation on how long they're roughly going to get out of their eyebrows because of this and that. So it's all about informing and educating them. Client who didn't come back for their second visit, then their eyebrows, they're just not going to last as long. They might get 6 months, they might get longer, they might even only get 3 months out of it. So you're really spending a lot of money and you're not really protecting your investment if you do not come back for your second visit. And as the eyebrows are healing, you might have some areas that flake off, and you have some areas where there's some pigment loss. So their eyebrows might be a little bit gappy as well. So definitely always your clients should come back for the second visit. And even if on the second visit there's not much that needs doing because their skin's really healthy, and you've picked the right color choice, the depth that you went into the skin was really good, and they looked after it really well with their aftercare, then you want those photos as well. So you want to always see how your client is healing. You want to see what your work looks like, because you can't improve if you don't see how your work has healed. Okay, so you want to look at that work and go, okay, well, that was a really nice color choice for this skin type, this skin tone, and what could you have done to improve and things like that. So you always want to check up on your work. With cosmetic tattooing, yes, there is maintenance. Does it mean you don't have to get your eyebrows waxed or tinted ever again? No, some people they don't have to get tinting or waxing because they really don't have a lot of hair growth. But some people will still need to get their eyebrows trimmed, shaped, and some people still want them tinted. So if you have like really fair hair, you've got to think about your tattoo is sitting on your skin, and then your fair hair is sitting on top, and it can really dull the color of your tattoo. So and some people who obviously like their eyebrows really dark, they also like sometimes the henna to just make them stand out a little bit more, especially if you're going on a holiday or you have a special event coming up. Like it is good to just give them a freshen up, and it makes a massive difference. Like they look brand new.
Yeah.
If you wax and tint, they're gonna come back every month or 6 weeks to just get that done, because it basically gives them that fresh eyebrow tattoo look again. And you always want to keep in contact with your client. You don't want your clients to be seeing you once a year. You do want them to be regular clients throughout the year. So yeah, there is some maintenance with cosmetic tattooing. Have anything to add to that, Jacinta?
No, that's pretty much it. I always try and turn my cosmetic tattoo clients into wax and tint clients, because like mainly what you said, it's really good to keep in contact with them, and I like to monitor the tattoo and see how it's going, and yeah, it's nice to kind of build that more regular relationship with your client. So yeah, I find there's many benefits of converting a cosmetic tattooing client to a maintenance wax and tint client.
Definitely, I love that. So there will be a worksheet for you guys below. There'll be a link below. So there's just a few questions for you guys to answer. And if you do have any questions in regards to anything that you learned today or anything that we went through today, or if you needed help with any of the questions, just shout out to us and we're always happy to help. And then we will see you next time when we go through the different methods of tattooing. So we will see you then. Watch the seconds turn to hours. It's time for high tea. Madmen in hats and cats up in the trees.